versus VP. Need I say more? We'll see you after the break. And here we are back again. That was a very, very quick break, by the way. If you didn't know what was going on, G2 versus Virtus Pro. All the beautiful boys on the screen. And I got two more joining me on the analyst desk, Hap and Ace, for this introduction. How are you guys ready for this one? Because I gotta say, there's a lot of questions that have been thrown around the TL and all that for G2 VP.
I think this is going to be one of the games of the day, Milosh. Honestly, I think it could be the game of the day. I think it could be the game of the EUL so far over the first two Playdays. If G2 can come out and... Let me put it this way. Actually, I'm just going to change my train of thought. If G2 can come out and sort their defense out, I think this becomes a battle of the defenses. I think they're both so good on attack. They're very, very powerful. And I think whoever can defend better will probably win. I want to see G2 come out and show us more than they did on defense. And I think they will. I think they will have been working on that. And I think this is going to be a real showdown today.
Yeah, I think that's the true focus here. Will G2 have been able to use the short time between the two play days to work on the defense, as that was arguably the bit of a weaker part, which is uncharacteristic, and considering normally teams do very well on defense, and the attack is where normally, you know, the coordination issues would be coming up. But that wasn't really the case here for G2. So I'm hoping, indeed, that they have been able to use that time to get the defense in place.
Of course, in the future, our scheduling will be different, as everybody was explaining last Playday on Thursday. We'll only have this one Playday on Monday for EUL. So teams will have the entire week to prepare between their games, just the opener of the season. So why don't we talk about these two squads, starting off with Virtus Pro, one of our major CIS teams. You can see them playing in the Russian Major League, something we'll talk about later at the end of the show. And their roster has still a lot to prove, always making it to those top performances, but then it's just difficult to crack the top three.
It really is. And for me, Milosh, I think this Playday maybe signals whether Virtus Pro are going to go on and crack that top three or not. You look at their first two matchups, Empire and G2, November Major winners, European League winners. They are two big games. And if they can come away from that with 5 points, 4 points even, with another overtime win, for example, then that is a massive start for them. They are going to need Milan to show up. There is no doubt. Rask played well last week. Pasha got in on the action. They're going to need all the big names firing today in order to compete with G2. But equally, there needs to be some performances on the other side as well.
All right, let's talk about G2 here for a moment. Bring up their roster as they come into 2021 season here in EU League as the number one seeded team. They, of course, won the league finals. They've been around for quite a while, but a reformation in the squad has come through again.
Yeah, and we can keep on mentioning it, and we probably will throughout the stage. Pengu, of course, going out, and Kayak coming back in, or well, really actually in as his debut last time around. And well, he did do quite well in the attack. The defense, however, sometimes you saw a bit of a questionable play here and there, not just from him, but from other players as well. And there was costly utility loss there, but they definitely have the opportunity to go big. They've shown the potential. All they need to do is just iron out the mistakes, as I said before, and make sure they play into the strengths, which, for example, is Citizen, who absolutely went nuts in the previous Playday.
As you said, you know, Citizen, there is going to be...
Quite exciting, actually, to talk about these two. Yeah, it's cool.
Sorry, Milosh, we just lost you for a second again.
Lost you for a second there.
Milosh.
Sorry, I was just saying, go ahead. There's some delays that I just genuinely, literally cannot deal with, so please...
It's quite all right. Yeah, so as you know, we were saying there, Citizen Milan is, you know, it's going to be a big one. If both of those guys show up, this could be a real battle for the ages between them as to who can carry the teams forward. You know, you've always got to look at both ends of the roster, of course, but these guys were certainly at the top end last time around. Look at those stats. 15 kills for Citizen, 16 kills for Milan. Both very similar in the ratings. We just had, I think, Citizen maybe take taking the edge due to those entry battles, just getting in there and really powering his team forward in a couple of rounds. Nice to see as well, the sort of variety on the defence a little bit. You've got Citizen coming in with Mozzie playing that information up. You've got Milan playing the disruption in the terms of the Malusi. So slightly different play styles, but both of them playing nice quick operators to get in and around the map as well.
Yeah, and of course the Malusi is also, is also disruption, but also part of the information game, because as soon as that thing starts buzzing, you know that there is someone in a close proximity right there. The whoop indeed, and oh yes, as you said, indeed, might have taken the edge due to the opening kills. We all know how important those are. Often 70 to 80% of the rounds go into the favor of the team who managed to get that opening kill. I'm not quite sure what the actual statistics are right now. You know what? I'm gonna be setting up a little bit of a sheet for that, so we can keep a hold on that one for this season.
Waiting until our lobby is completely full, that'll give us just enough time to talk about our map bans. So again, a reminder, 7 map pool, 6 are out, 1 is left. You go ban until you are left with only 1. Overtime rule does apply. You saw it last week in our first Playday and in APAC as well. Consulate, oh man, okay, this can really be spicy between the two. So the last ban was VP removing Villa, something that they had issues with in the past maybe. And there's Consulate. We'll make sure exactly which team is starting on which side. G2 is on attack on Consulate. So, Ace, your take.
Right, well, we've got a carbon copy of last week when it comes to G2 starting out attack on Consulate. Honestly, it doesn't surprise me too much to see that Virtus Pro choice. They're going to be quite happy to leave Consulate in there. As I said, they did well on attack. You've got G2 who struggled on defense on this very map. So Virtus Pro are going to be looking at that and thinking we can get a good advantage in our attacking half here. They're going to have to wait until the switch around. They're going to have to go up against that G2 attack to begin with. And hopefully they've been watching those VODs just to see exactly how to shut them down, because they were electric.
It's kind of thing, right? There's been a VOD available for this specific map for G2, so VP should have the advantage here, at least you think. However, some stuff went wrong with G2, so they've had 4 days to start improving on themselves. So maybe we will already see some of those improvements coming out today, considering the fact we're literally on the same map with the same starting side. So this would be the perfect time for G2 to show what they have learned and how adaptable they are with their new roster.
Update on the lobby. The Russian team is still not in, so I'll just say Pashli, davai. Let's go. Let's be in the lobby. Let's get this game ASAP on the go. This time it's not Hap's fault. It's probably Veli's, but we don't talk about, NA on the show.
Why are you picking fights for literally every region right now? First we went to Apex South, now to NA.
Look, NA isn't even live yet. Okay? We have every advantage in the world.
Miller's just weighing in on everybody. There's absolutely no fear.
He woke up and chose violence.
Look, he's doing it with a smile as well. That's the best bit. There's no fear in the man.
Look, my friend. I have been stuck in a tiny apartment in Warsaw for 3.5 weeks, and I don't even have a computer that could allow me to play Rainbow Six, which is horrendous. So I've been having to deal with things in my own way. And let's just say I like throwing a bit of shade here and there, because it's pretty much everything that I have there. Just a ton of shade and a lot of grayness most of the day. That said, since we are still waiting for our lobby to load up and be ready, we'll just off it to a more open question on Consulate. Looking at what G2 did last Playday, seems like they had momentum started off, but over time, things gradually started to fall off the edge for G2. What are they supposed to fix from you watching and analyzing that game that would be a extra weak point against a team like VP?
I think Hap already picked up on one of the major points for me, and that is that utility use on defence. And as you say, Hap, some important utility lost with bets, that were maybe just over-peaking a little bit, maybe a little bit too aggressive given the operator and position they were in. I think leave that aggressive roaming to your players like Citizen, let him get out there. If you lose your Mozzie, for example, which was Citizen's most picked operator on defence, if you lose your Mozzie, it's not the end of the world. You lose your Smoke, it's a different ball game, and Virtus Pro will take full advantage of that given the opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta give him not too much space by going too aggressive yourself. The Smoke goes too aggressive with 3 smoke canisters in hand, and he dies. That's 30 extra seconds. The Russians will have to take down your side, and they will use it to shred it apart. So stay put. don't go too over aggressive, I guess, and make sure that you're ready to use that utility a bit better.
All right, Hap, Ace, thank you so much for your breakdown. That is the beginning of game number 1 for today, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, drops are on. Do not mute the stream or else you just cannot get your drops. Tell your friends to come in. Maybe your grandma wants to get into Rainbow Six Siege. Perfect time for it. G2 versus Virtus.pro begins here, and we'll toss it to our casters. Jessica, I choose you.
Hey, it's been a while since I've heard those words, I think, Jess. I'm
know.
delighted to be back. It's been so long since we cast together. How have you been, Jess?
I know. I have missed you as much as I love to bully you and you love to bully me and everyone, it's the whole brother-sister rivalry. I have missed you dearly. I've missed the casting desk. I've missed being on the microphone. And what a better matchup to throw me into the deep end with than G2 going up against VP. Look at that social vote, though. That's a bit of an ouch for VP.
A little bit, yeah. And I think the fans are at work. Look, you guys out there, we know you love G2. We know you're backing the boys all the way, but there are some fair concerns around how last week went, that it wasn't the cleanest out of G2, especially once they got on the defensive side, seemingly unable, outside of maybe Citizen, to win a gunfight on the defensive side of things. That's what I want to see step up today. Otherwise, the boys could find themselves in hot water back in the same location as last week. But first and foremost, let's get into our op bans and see what gets taken away by both sides.
G2 usually bans Capital, but I mean, depending with that Thatcher ban, whether or not they bring it along, especially against a Russian team, I do thoroughly expect them to get rid of the Capital. It's a popular operator for the CIS region for a long time, but no, they're going to get rid of the Nomad instead, and that's an interesting one. So Capital still being in play. That's probably just going to simply come down to the fact that when was the last time you saw Capital played seriously since we moved to this 3-stage system,
Last week it was used on this map. I can't remember which team played it, but the Capital did die on the entry, so they never got a chance to use it. And I'm 90% sure it was G2 making use of it as well. So maybe for them it's I don't want to ban it away. We know they play it. We also want to bring it along here. I don't know, but it's got to be more effective this time round, because we know, of course, that the firebolts and, of course, smokes incredibly useful when it comes to actually assaulting a tight room like the garage itself. We'll see if it comes down to that. But the final 2 bans are in, Jess, and very, very intel-focused.
I'm glad they are Intel focused as well. The Valkyrie on this map is just too much of a worry to deal with. Even if you do start on defense, you don't want to have to deal with that Valkyrie later on. It actually forces you to have that IQ pick, which you see Uno taking there. That's not unusual. That composition is almost always there for G2 on this particular map. They'll almost always take a Nomad and IQ. That's been banned out by them, however, so instead they're going to bring a Yana along for the ride, and that's something they don't play too often. But considering Valkyrie's banned, not a surprise to see the 6th pick either. That really isn't necessary, but they are going to start downstairs. And for people that are like, why are they starting downstairs? Let me give you a little bit of a hint. Top floor has the lowest win rate for defender-sidedness on any part of this map. So that's why teams stopped going there.
Absolutely. Otherwise, everything looking pretty plain sailing compared to last week. To be fair, we see Ayana being brought along by seemingly every single team at the minute. Not only does she still have the air quotes unlimited drones that we're also used to, you also got to consider the fact there are 2 frags there, and of course the Gon 6. That's 3 gadgets that she can remove by herself and give unlimited drones and clear her Rooney gates with those drones. She does a hell of a lot, so you are going to see her more and more as time goes on.
Oh, I love that position of that bulletproof camera. I'm seeing so many teams not bring barbed wire with Jaeger anymore. They're just absolutely putting that to the side and going, we don't need it. What we really need is the intel. And with a lot of those intel bans, let's be honest, VP absolutely would have ran a Maestro downstairs if that was in part of their composition options. They would have ran it downstairs. This is a very heavy roam, however, and they're going to need to be tight-knit here because G2, when they're on their game, can clear very effectively. Got good drones, got some really big gunners with great mechanical skill. So we'll see how that pans out for them because it's very clear they know that they're roaming top floor now.
Last week, G2 were really good on the attack and dealing with the electrification setup coming out of Secret as well. I believe they brought along the Bandit or the Kaid in a couple of rounds, and what they would actually do is play around Kanto on the Twitch. I believe he was on it last week rather than Uno, and use it to get rid of those gadgets whilst covering the drone with flash grenades, which was the craziest kind of setup you've ever seen, but it worked so effectively well, so I'm not at all surprised to see them doubling back on that here. But already you're seeing these early scraps going on around the map, understandably, as you would expect, seeing maybe a Mute and a Mozzie on side, a Malusi and a Jaeger. You're looking there and saying, really, there's 3 operators that you might see playing on the roam, and with bullets ringing all around Milan here inside a meeting, So surprised that he's starting to feel the heat. The question is, how much time can he waste? How much resource will G2 commit to trying to unseat him from this room?
Well, Citizen surely will be the first one to make his ingress, and he will lose as a result. Rask, he's got the MP5 in hand, and the man doesn't miss. And this is what I was worried about. VP, they've got a triple roam with 3 different crossfires. That is gnarly. Look at how much time they've wasted. A minute 30, and they get a frag, and they put Uno down to 10 HP. I'm telling you what, Des, this is a great roam, heavily effective. And if G2 comes back from this with 2 mirror windows on site, I mean, that will be a miracle.
I mean, the fact that they've come down to Uno and Kanto both taking early spray damage and a kill converted, that could have been 3 kills for Virtus Pro on the roam early on. So the attacks for G2 this time around, not looking so good. Last week, they did ignore the roam and just said, look, we're just going straight into garage here. We get the door open. We put the focus on getting a plant down. We ignore the roamers. Is this fair case to say maybe that is the right play to take here? Because this just isn't working so far. Yes, you've only lost 1, but you're in the final 60 seconds and nowhere near in control of what's going on above site, let alone on the site itself. They still have to clear 1 man from the top floor as he's still holding around looking to cause trouble.
You know what the worst part is Kayak's waiting for Rask to drop, but Rask knows it, and he didn't drop at all, so he's wasted another 45 seconds. He'll get gifted as a result. That's 2 headshots in a row there for Rask. Make it a triple, my friend, and, well, he can't, but he does manage to put him very, very low. That's about 12 HP, another, 8 HP for Uno, and Kayak, lonely outside, hoping he can get the wall open, and oh, this has been a terrible first round here for G2. I really don't think 15 seconds there's much they can do.
No, absolutely not. They can push forward and try and find whatever kills they may, and they have made it a 2 versus 2, but with no intel on the site itself, a mirror window is present. This should be ending the way that we all expect. Kayak does bring it down to a 1 versus 1, but suddenly the clock was almost out. Does take the firefight, but Kajeka doesn't miss those. Down the previous man, gets the final kill, but that was almost a round throwaway. Kajeka there saying, KD, come to me.
I can't believe that even came down to a 1v1. In fact, if you're VP and you have a huge numbers advantage, you run away. You go all the way to archives. You go somewhere else. It didn't matter. There was a bulletproof cam there in case they started planting. There's so many other options. I tell you what, that was a nail-biting end to that round, and that's exactly how you want the match of the day to start off. A little bit of a pity for the G2 fans out there. Virtue and Kayak did end up walking away with a couple of frags, but as we say, KD doesn't really mean anything. The 6th man there, a VP of the time, was really the winner there, and how all of those 3 roamers were able to delay so much time. You're right, though, Des. I think if they had been able to just hit sight straight on, it would have forced the rotate down from the roamers, and Kayak could have caught people dropping piano hatch. Maybe that was the right play.
I mean, he was trying for the longest time to hold below piano outside the building, as you commented on, but I think after 2 minutes, you're like, guys, I can't sit here anymore waiting. Like, you're struggling to get rid of this guy. He's killed 2 of you. I may as well go and try and make an impact in the map. But things definitely didn't go to plan for G2 from step 1, with 2 members going down to 10% and 50% HP respectively. Just around that, I think they'll put in the books and say, it's best we forget about that one, boys, and don't talk about it anymore.
We'll call it the warm-up round there for G2, and they have started on their attack, so that does worry me a little bit because both of these teams on this map specifically are attacking-sided. So if you compare the defensive-sided wins or round wins compared to their attacking-sided wins, it is far more favoured in the side of the attack. So both of these teams will be thinking about that, going, actually, we usually perform really well on our attack, so we want to win as many rounds as we can because defense, we don't really have that to fall back on.
I like what they're bringing along here as well, actually, on the side of Virtus Pro, with the Vigil and the Aruni and the Melusi and the Jaeger. Again, you're looking at 3 or 4 possible operators to be playing off on the roam here and just giving some grief to the side of G2. And given this is the lobby site downstairs, I expect we would have seen a roam or 2 on the top floor. It actually looks like it's going to be a full 3-floor setup here with the Aruni playing downstairs, 1 or 2 playing upstairs. You've got the Vigil playing in antechamber. They've got full coverage here, just in case there are any shenanigans that come out of G2.
Well, hopefully they won't be time delayed like they were last round. They're still going to have to do a full top floor take because, let's be honest, the site is lobby, and if you don't get top floor, you're going to have to deal with all of those pesky vertical holes. You can see Kajek is on the smoke. He's the one holding it down inside a projector. Milon over towards the console. They Rask over holding a crossfire from bathroom. This is where it sort of happened last round. They're repeating it, but the site just happens to be a little closer to them. So G2 got to be faster, got to be quicker, and Uno will be the one that really wants to make this happen. But with a Nomad ban, anyone could come flying out a piano window at any moment.
It's normally why when attackers on this map don't have a Nomad on side, you'll have a couple of Claymores on side. There's only the one on Citizen here that's been brought along, so no second one to kind of be buddying up on that. But Uno finally will find the kill onto Karjeka from the window. No jump out to match, so no trade-based play or riskiness coming out of VP here, because admittedly, if it had gone wrong, they'd already been staring down the barrel of a 5 versus 3, and we all know how those rounds tend to end. The opening kill isn't the end of the world, but you've got to ask questions. Why was the smoke exposing themselves so early into the round when your role really spikes in the final 30 seconds?
They still do have the vertical control, so not everything is lost. And I would have argued you're right. Smoke should have been persisting over towards the bathroom, maybe with a shield in front of him, trying to delay. This angle, I remember Corey rocking this when they first joined Rogue way back in the day, and this is a popular one for the upside down repeller. So if you're trying to work out how do I counter the pesky upside down repel, this is it. Uno decides to repel down, so we won't really see that reminiscent moment again, but they decide, well, if we get straight on site with about 35 seconds left, things might look good for us. Do they really have the vertical control for this though, Des? I'm going to argue no.
Not yet, no, especially when it's being contested potentially. I mean, they've now managed to force the Vigil back because they've got some eyes inside of lobby. Virtue taking the fight against Pasha and winning Citizen. Top floor catches 2. This is the kind of play you want. We all remember his triple from inside of console office last week. This time round, it's 2 from the top of Spiral. Kayak gets the plant down, and this will be a flawless round for G2. Much better than what we saw in round number 1.
Just a warm-up, Des.
Just a warm-up, that's all.
It's just a little warm-up. Just need to warm up the hands, get the, wrists rolling around a little bit, the comms flowing, and everyone on the side of G2's feeling good, which is great because they're an attacking-sided team on Consulate. You want to be racking up those rounds early so you're starting on the attack. And I have a sneaky suspicion that on Consulate specifically, we're going to start calling Citizen the god of top floor, because of what he did the other day, Playday.
Tyrant of top floor is what I called him the other day.
Oh. See, I just mute you when you're casting, so I'm so sorry I didn't hear anything you said.
Don't worry, Jess. We're all muted by about 50,000 people right now. They're here for the packs. That's what it's all about.
Fair enough. We get paid per word, don't we? So it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, that's why I speak so fast and you can't understand what I'm saying most of the time.
Fair enough.
But Jess, look at what's coming in this round, right? You've now got the Capital coming along. We cottoned onto that was brought along the other day by G2. Wasn't used to great effect because it died quite early. So I'm keen to see if they can employ it to the right ends today. Now they're stepping again into playing into lobby. I'm thinking it's going to be into the door plant, likely it can be behind a smoke play. Heaven knows. But again, Citizen from this power spot last time round getting 2, sees the head peek round the corner. It's the easiest thing in the world for him to pick off there. Good end to a solid round from G2.
I think what Uno struggled with last time is it was his job to do the upside down repel over on meeting/projector windows, and he couldn't really deal with the smoke. I know the smoke died eventually, but he wants to be quicker. That's what G2 is looking for. Be more effective, be more efficient, and get the job done more quickly. So if they've got multiple ADSs on the shield there, how about I just flame him to death and he runs away and I kill him? I mean, that's so easy. They don't have a 1-eye to play with, Des, so this is really, truly the answer. He should repel up there and deal with Karjeka behind the shield really quickly.
Should. I mean, we thought this in the first round, right? The things would go a little bit quicker, and things never quite did. It was more going quickly the wrong way round, more towards VP than it was to G2. Let's see, though, if that second round's any motivation for it. More getting themselves positioned out right now. Pleased to report the Capital is still alive. I'm on Capital watch, it feels like, today. I want to see the impact because they didn't get a chance to kind of show it off the other day. Got picked for 1 round, died, didn't get picked up again. And I'm thinking this is the big execution tool they might need if they can clear out members of Virtus Pro. Citizen, again today, I think he was on 15 kills in their last match. He's already started out flying with 3 kills in 3 rounds.
Rask had a drone right behind him, so if you're wondering how Citizen knew exactly where he was, there was literally a drone within 2 feet of him giving away the ping, and that's a missed freebie there. The timing game doesn't play into Virtue's favor, and he has a grenade in his hand rather than a gun. And this shield placement actually might save WTG, but that mirror will get popped, multiple crossfires will be present. And I like how they're using the hot drone, or rather the live drone over there for Citizen below, whilst the rest of the team works over towards Piano. It looked like they were ingressing towards lobby last time. They don't want to be predictable, so now they're going to hit the Piano instead. I like it. It's a little bit of flavor, a little bit of variability. This is what a team needs if you want to be a really strong tier 1 team.
Absolutely. It's all about the execution when it comes down to it. And as it stands right now, we're at 1:10. And yes, they found the opening kill on the roam downstairs, but that doesn't necessarily cover the site itself or the top floor. Citizen still hanging out down here as well. I think looking to apply some pressure up into the bathroom when the time is right. This Echo drone being moved into the corner of Antechamber. We'll keep a close eye on that because if WTG stays alive long enough, we've all seen those heartbreaking rounds where it comes to the final few seconds of plants going down and the Echo drone literally ruins it for them. Citizen has now been shut down downstairs, so that's all neutralized off downstairs. Nothing else really to worry about. But there's the smoke. He's trying to push his way in, but gets C4'd out by Pasha, who was playing out in the hallway on yellow stairs. They've got to recover this. They've got about 35 seconds, so still plenty of time to play with 3 versus 3. 30 seconds to play. WTG onto Virtue. Uno trades back straight away. It is Trade City up in here. Consulate's going back and forth. 1 versus 2 for Kanto. I doubt he can res his man now that he's playing out on the rappel, but trying to see what he can find a grenade. No one out in yellow. Upstairs, maybe the play here. Surely he sees the angle, does get it, even shoots and closes it out. Karjaka, the last man left standing. He's got 2 smokes in pocket. He can yeet those into the room and back out if he wants to. Goes for the spray, and it's going to be another round secured by Karjaka with 2 kills to close it out. The same in round 1, the same in round 3. He's keeping those points on the board for Virtus Pro.
I am sitting here in absolute shock as to the last 30 seconds of that round, what had occurred. Because at the end of the day, we love using the smokes to block line of sight, but unfortunately that works both ways. If someone runs into the smoke, throws a C4, you cannot, as an attacker, see through that. And of course, on the defense, the only operator that's going to see through that is a warden. Hasn't been present for a long time. So I mean, that's a freebie. That's a free opportunity to throw a C4. They could have even had the verticals above and attack the person on rappel. I think it was a bit of a premature plant. I know they only had about 35 seconds left to make that happen, but at the end of the day, they needed more cover. They needed a little bit more map control to make that one happen, and Citizen dying below meant that, well, the Mirror had an opportunity to go below and C4 there as well. I think it wouldn't have happened no matter how that round had occurred. Maybe if Citizen was still alive, he could have pushed up yellow. But either way, Des, that round was absolutely wild from start to finish. And I like that G2's trying different things. It shows me that they're versatile. It's just a shame that VP just seems to have their number on speed dial.
Thinking back to it and stats-wise, players don't often get too many 1vx's against their name in a season, but Karjaka has pulled off 2 in a matter of 3 rounds so far. Now, say what you want about Karjaka on Rogue last season or last year, it didn't wind out too well for them results-wise. We all know how that tragic second stage went, with the whole team going 0-9 across the split. Karjaka, unfortunately, was the one who did get dropped as a result of that. But so far, looking solid, playing on these supportive roles, and no doubt a really good backbone to VP, a team that we've always celebrated for the likes of Rask, Pasha, and Milan heading up the front charge for the team. They're looking super solid so far this year, no complaints.
Huh. You can see Kayak running against the wall there. What he's trying to work out is exactly where those mute jammers are on the wall. It'll show up as a little red icon down the bottom right of your screen. A grenade will come in because guess what? Pasha decided not to put down any of these ADSs there. A curious one there because that's an easy way to deal with the mute jammers. But a lot of teams have been giving up the garage wall, Des, and just going, you know what? We'll put something there to force you to use something or go above. But we know at the end of the day, most teams these days will know how to get garage wall open. Let's put some of our utility elsewhere, and what they've decided to do is a more vertical hold. They won't do top floor like they did in the first round, but what they'll do is middle floor and force G2 to have to push them out again, because you heard those shotguns going off. There is a lot of holes above default plant right now.
This should be like clockwork for Virtus Pro. They literally watched G2 play against Secret last week, and this site was where G2 looked the strongest. Their executes, the play behind the utility was beautiful. Now, they never got the chance to pull off an execute with the Capital. Like, say, it got killed early on. The prior rounds, it was all playing behind flashes. It was playing behind a couple of frags, for example. I think they'll see the same sort of thing here again. Rask almost getting tagged out by Virtue up on the rappel, and actually Citizen up on the roof, I think, was trying to pinch him inside of yellow, but it's not going to happen. Finally, actually catches him. I thought he'd managed to escape his way back towards lobby, but no, gets himself snagged out. That is Rask down and done. That shouldn't be any more flying C4s coming out of the window.
I'm loving all the drones from G2. A lot of people aren't really spotting them, but shout out to our beautiful observer who keeps flicking over to Kayak so we can see where those pre-placed drones are. It is key for G2's ingress into the building, getting some of that map control, or even not even pushing in, just being aware as to where some of those Virtus Pro players are, because they've got some really good pre-placed drones. And as we saw with Rusk the other round, he didn't even know one was 2 feet away from him. So I'm liking this really good intel work from G2. Look over and see how many drones they've got left. They've still got a couple left to work with, and they've got less than about a minute left. So overall, plant will be the focus here, and they've got to be quick.
I do find it interesting. Oh, for Virtue, it's all too easy. I was going to say interesting how they've got so many C4s to play behind, yet no one really in a spot to deny. Is it going to come out? Yes, it does. And it's going to kill Kayak at the last second, as it looked like the plant was going to be complete. Now Citizen's got to go nuts, and go nuts he does. 3 kills for 1, goes for the rest, and Kanto is going to close things out with a kill onto Pasha. This is what happens when you stick Citizen in charge and say, walk in there and kill everyone. He goes, yes, sir, and makes it happen.
You know who Citizen reminds me of at the moment on the Ash? Just think all the way back to 2019 Joystick. Think about how he absolutely, how he used to walk through site and absolutely obliterate everyone on the Ash, to the point people started to ban Ash against them. That is how brutal Joystick used to be, and Citizen is very much giving me all of those nice little flashbacks, even back to when he slapped my team back in the day on it, and it's just beautiful that we have Citizen being able to finally step up in a role where he gets freedom. I think that's what limited him last year. I don't want to say that G2 were necessarily limiting him, but now it seems that he has complete freedom to do the role that is his specialty, and I'm really glad to see it come to fruition.
It is what he's always been well regarded for, as being that out-and-out fragger. And to be fair, G2 said, you know, the problem they had previously was Pengu was a flex player by nature. He wasn't really designed to be a support for the team, whereas Kayak coming in, a true and true out-and-out support. Sometimes a support that's going to sit on drones for your fraggers is exactly what you need. And the intel that no doubt he's feeding across and saying, right, Virtue peak now, Citizen push now, boys, go, execute the plan. Down go all of VP, and things get closed out from there. Sometimes you need that puppet master behind the scenes, and maybe that's exactly what Kayak has been bringing for them so far. It is 2-2, but let's not forget just how close those 2 rounds for Virtus Pro were. It did come down to the Karjeka 1 versus 2, even if in the first round, it never should have come down to Karjeka being in that situation.
Absolutely. I'm thinking if VP can win one more defensive round, this actually bodes really well for them statistically. Statistics don't mean much if on the day you can't show up. So if they get onto their attack, G2's got something nasty waiting for them, or they've learned from their last playday of playing on Consulate, then of course VP's going to find some struggles. But so far, if you're thinking about how this game is looking so far in the first half, it actually looks better here for VP so far. Nevertheless, some really strong play, strong intel, and some gunning for G2. So it's all the recipe you need for a great outcome. We just need to see G2 step it up, ramp up the motivation and the momentum they've got so far, and just keep it rolling.
Yeah, I feel like after the shaky first round, they've looked a lot stronger, when the other day it was kind of the exact opposite. They started strong and then got shakier as the kind of game went by. But I'm always excited to see what happens when G2 step into the defense, because that's where they really slipped up last week. So we'll stay excited about what they can achieve in this half, but the second half is where it's really going to be the build or break for G2. The sign of, are they really getting things right, or is there still a problem they need to go away and work on after this playday has been completed? I've noticed really from Virtus Pro, there hasn't been much in the way of aggressive jump outs. We saw that quite a bit last week, but no real jump outs, no craziness to try and secure a kill or 2 onto players on the rappel like Virtue here, others in previous rounds. It's been pretty tame, dare I say, despite the Nomad ban.
I will say, however, there was a couple of notes there to say that, oh, you know, VP, they were being super aggressive over towards their last play day and whatnot. But for the most time, if you look back at the match history, some of those rounds were won purely off time. And so if you go to CGG, it will tell you whether they won off time or plan or whatever. And a lot of them were won off time. So VP obviously has the capacity to play disciplined. And on a map like Consulate, you don't really expect that when there's a Nomad ban on the board, especially. So for me, I'm a little bit interested. Surely there's a drone on Pasha here. Surely he slaps the window and gets a freebie here. This has got to be what they need, because Virtue's still droning Circle Desk.
Just looking in totally the wrong places, and finally does get picked off. I mean, for Kanto to be able to just walk in like he owns the place is a little bit questionable. That he wasn't tagged down a little bit sooner. There wasn't a kind of notification coming in around yellow, but will finally get himself shut down. Isn't going to be the end of the world. A second one comes in though, and Citizen, the player that we keep on speaking about, is going to find himself going down by the longer angle, I think, from upstairs. Or was that a jump out of meeting window potentially? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that was going to be a jump out. Yeah. And I think overall the problem is that if you don't lock off those stairs early on and you're just sitting there on your drone, you can't shoot and drone at the same time, Des. My big problem with players who drone themselves is they can't act on the information, and that's unfortunately what happened there.
I'll call it the caster curse because it was only 2 minutes ago we were talking about a lack of jump outs and then they make it happen. Where Virtus.pro are really shining so far is getting these kills out on the road. Sadly, there's a mirror window in the way there, Buddy not going to be able to secure the kill, but Virtus.pro pick up the final 2 onto Virtue, and Kayak do stay ahead at 3-2. So as good as G2 have looked at points, Virtus.pro as it stands, at least on the stats, are looking better.
Well, there you go. We're finally getting into our last round of the first half. And essentially, you can see up the top right of your screen a live ranking as to how it looks throughout the round. That's going to be sort of a round count differential as to how this goes along throughout the season. So if you're wondering why VP says first and G2 looks 8th and whatnot, it'll just slowly tick along as the rounds collect for each of these teams. It's a little bit more intricate, but we can explain that later on, or rather the analysts can bring that up for you guys so you can be a little bit more aware as to what the ticker is trying to show you. Nevertheless, it is G2's last opportunity now to show me that they do have what it takes to be strong on their attack, because that's where it needs to happen, because we can't see them do what they did last week on their defense again. Otherwise, VP will run away with the win here.
They will indeed. I do want to touch in that last round actually about the slightly questionable run from Kanto where he was just charging in through yellow into piano, got challenged by 2 people. Where were the drones ahead of time? Like whether they were being blocked out by the Mozzie and the Mute, I'm not entirely sure. But surely there's some coordinated effort from the team there to say, well, we don't know what's going on around Spiral. We know they have the angle if we try and run through this hallway. Let's just run through anyway and hope for the best. That seemed to be the game plan. And before you know it, they'd lost 1 to the jump out. They'd lost Kanto going into piano. That was a 5 versus 3. By no means is a round over and done with then, as we've seen a couple of times over the last week or so. But you're definitely skewing the odds against you pretty heavily and not putting yourself in a good spot. Just a little more discipline, I think, is going to help G2 there, because that really came back to bite them in the previous round.
I will say, Des, it actually was a little bit unfortunate because it was Virtue who was droning over towards Zulu, and he droned literally past the top of Spiral, or rather mid-Spiral that goes down to basement. And then right after he droned it, Pasha walked out. So I think at the end of the day, it was literally missed timing and a bit of unfortunate timing that Siege always tends to have that happened to Virtue. And I'm telling you what, G2 would have blamed him because it was his job. But it really wasn't his fault at the end of the day because, well, he just had a bit of a timing issue. That's all it came down to. Drones were there, but like I said, the problem is you can't keep droning yourself. You're going to miss little stuff like that.
What do you think about us being on top floor here as well? You were saying earlier on about how it's one of the most despised sites at the minute, given how hard it is to defend because of all the windows. What are you expecting?
I'm expecting either a lot of jump outs, because you know that once you start to lose one half of the map, that it's going to be very difficult to stop them once they get in. Most people will have the crossfires from bathroom window, connector window, maybe an upside down rappel on projector window, and it's very difficult to challenge those kind of windows. I know they have a couple of plant denial to work with, but it's almost impossible to peek through connector once there's a couple of people rappelling. What I want to see is them get a couple of really important picks early, and if they don't, make sure they go below on piano, get control of it again. They'll have to retake it from Citizen, who's likely going to hold yellow, and then make sure that they do the plant denial, because G2, it always looks like they're going for the objective, Des. I expect them to go for the objective, so hopefully they stay with that flow.
Especially on a map like this where pretty much every single site borders a window or some external way into the building. The same as Coastline, really, where the focus is always around the objective in some way, shape or form. Citizens managed to get himself inside of yellow and found the opening kill onto Pasha, and you can see the setup coming in for a plant. You had the ace playing out in the console meeting window. You've got the claymores going down on the yellow doorway. They're setting up for success here to make this plant happen, but they need to get control of top yellow to make it safer, to get inside, to get the plant down without being killed off. The problem is you've got to worry about things like connector, any C4 based players hanging around there. There is only 1 C4 remaining on Rask at this point, so I'm thinking it's not going to be the end of the world. And now with Karjeka going down on the Echo, things are looking a lot clearer, a lot more rosy if you're on the side of G2, as that Echo drone is going to be offline and unable to contest you.
That's an important pick, but that's even more important. And all of a sudden, with 30 seconds left, G2 says, let's go for the frags, boys, because guess what? They've got nothing left to stop us getting on in. It's Rask below, the very lone C4 player, and there's no way he makes it over to piano in time to C4. Citizen makes sure that occurs, and all of a sudden, when we were asking for a confident G2 on their attacking half, well, we damn got it, and they've proved me right. They are a great attacking team on this map, Des. I'm a little bit worried as the swirl does the little spiral and things start to go into the second half.
I almost kind of want to ask questions around how it's looking for G2's prospects in future if it's Citizen that's doing a lot of the legwork. Because not at all to take away from the team, the rounds they have won, but a lot of this has come down to Citizen walking into site and killing 2 or 3 people like they were in the basement. That round just then, it was 2 kills coming up yellow where he wasn't traded, he wasn't crossfired by anyone from Virtus Pro, he was left to his own devices. And naturally then you expect that G2 would go on to win a 5 versus 3. Now you could say this about any team in the competition. They've got fraggers on side, they know once they've got advantage, they can walk into site and kill 2 or 3 people and the round's done. But to consistently do that does show that Citizen is a cut above the rest. He's currently at 9 kills. He's dragging a team through alongside Virtue, a player that I think we commented on last week. Is one of those players who does his job really well. In the round, he will pick up 1 or 2 kills. He'll never be the guy who walks into site and gets those kills, but consistently watching flanks, consistently providing frag kills, for example. He's the guy who gets the job done without much fanfare, and for that, he's always worth a little bit of acclaim, I think. But again, is that really enough for the team with just those 2 doing the work when the other 3 still kind of dragging up behind the rear at the minute, I think?
There's a few things to be said about maybe some of the support players taking a little bit more initiative and droning more for some of those players who are droning themselves. That's probably the glaring issue I can see, is that Virtue drones himself a lot. And that's fair enough if you're setting flank drones and you are the flank watcher. But there's a few issues here and there that maybe could be, the weight could be evenly distributed by having a couple of the support players doing a little bit more of the heavy lifting, not so much the frag department, but maybe something there. But nevertheless, I'm enjoying seeing the Dokkaebi here. That's going to speed up any roam clear that VP needs to do exponentially. They don't have an IQ to play with, which could have countered Virtue on the pulse. Yellow ping, I guess?
Yeah, I'd expect so, at least ahead of time there, for that kill to come through so simply. It's unfortunately coming on to one of their C4s, I think. I don't know at this point if the top overlay actually shows even when they're dead. But with how things stand, there are 2 on side. I'd imagine with the pulse on side, you would have had a 3rd there too. So maybe it was 3. You still got 2 remaining for you. But an opening kill like that was still with the Dokkaebi on side here to be able to get the calls in. If you're G2 right now, you're probably thinking, safety back to site is probably going to be the play.
It's a shame as well, because G2 are trying to replicate what VP did upstairs, but they can't successfully do it. And that's going to be tilting as a player, because you're like, hang on, they did it. Why can't we do it? And all of a sudden, they're getting slapped upstairs. Their roam is very unsuccessful. It is nothing mirroring what what VP were able to do when they roamed upstairs. I was worried about this. I knew VP were good on their attack, and I knew that this was sort of the opposite for both teams here on attack and defense. And hey, Kayak, he's making it work, but good trade. Very swift there from Pasha to come on in and go, nah, you take one of ours, we trade straight back onto you.
This is the problem, right? This has been the clear that I think G2 maybe wanted in their first round of the map. But look at that, Virtue with 2 kills coming out. Sadly, gets traded out at the last second. So Kayak tried, got traded. Virtue tried, got traded. Now it's all down to Ben and what he can do against WTG and Pasha. We've already seen these 1v2s swing the way of Virtus Pro 2 or 3 times so far on this map. It's not at all to say that Ben can't go on to do the same, but got to take his time. You've got about 60 seconds to play with. No massive need to rush. And equally, the same sits on the side of Virtus Pro. Why do they need to rush here? They've still got the Dokkaebi on side. If they want to, they can make things happen. They can go for the push in. I imagine now with the camps being hacked out, it's only going to help them even further. But here goes Citizen on the swing, looking for the one. Straight onto the head of Pasha, wins the 1v1. You have to somewhat ask the question, why Virtus Pro playing separate? He clutches out the 1v2. He says it's not just Karjeka, it's me as well. And make sure G2 stay in the game.
That should not have happened. That should not have happened in anywhere of any opportunity anywhere, because you could see that they were very aware that he was upstairs. Otherwise, why would we have had the sledge standing there holding an angle over to connector? He's very aware. So if you have the diffuser upstairs, you need your teammate to rappel up to you, hold the angle and get you out safely, or you both got to push for the kill. Neither happened. Some weird in-between scenario occurred there, and that's going to gift a very well-needed round over to the side of G2, which in the first half of that round, both you and I looked like we were just like, yeah, that's a VP round. Great clear, beautiful execution. Yeah, that went downhill pretty damn quick after that. Shout out to Citizen, who you rightfully pointed out is one of the carries here for his team. And he's decided that this round, he'll take the Mozzie away from Kayak. He wants to run with it. I'm not sure if he's running. Has he got the Roni in hand? We'll find out very shortly whether he prefers the Roni or Commando. But it doesn't really matter, because I think this man can do pretty much anything with any weapon. Was that a bullet hole, maybe?
I think it was a drone, potentially. Maybe someone saw him step back and was like, no, spray. I don't know. Like, we don't know what's inside their minds, of course. I've got to touch, though. Like, I look back over my notes from all the rounds so far. When I just look down, I'm just like, right, okay, so Citizen did this. Round 2, Citizen 2K from Spiral, they then planted in lobby. You then look at round 4, Ben goes big with a 3K. Round number 6, Citizen gets a 3K. Round just then, Citizen wins a 1v2. They're at the 4 rounds that G2 have got. Do not sit on the back of, we executed well. We used utility, we played behind smokes, for example. It has all been, Ben dragged us through this round kicking and screaming. And that's not to say G2 are absolutely crap in the bed and not playing okay. I'd say they are playing okay. Virtus Pro on average are playing better, but Ben is just stepping up massive with a lot of support coming out from Virtue in these mid-round plays. Virtue, for example, getting that 2K in the last round. We forget about that because of Ben's 1 versus 2, but that 2K that he found enabled Ben to be in a 1 versus 2 that he could win. Otherwise, it's a 1v4. There's no way you should be winning those kind of plays.
Is that a kitchen mirror over towards admin? I haven't seen one of these in a very, very long time. This used to be the OG way to do an admin hold. You'd have someone over in Kanto's spot there in corner, and you'd make sure that you have a couple of ADSs to protect you. Unfortunately for G2, however, they are surrounded left, right, and center from VP players repelling on every single window, printer window, south window, and east window. Grenades will come sailing through. Kanto, he somehow survives with a lick of life to go with him, and all of a sudden, they're just going to absolutely finishing him now with this, surely. There we go.
The unfortunate. This was actually a spot that they played last week, and Secret just pushed their way up Spiral, walked straight into admin, and gunned down 2 or 3. It was Sleben at the charge. He was supported, I believe, by Prana. They were just playing for trades the whole way through, and there was nothing that G2 could do about it. So a similar strategy again. No doubt the VP have gone back and looked at this and gone, oh, Virtue and Kanto are playing in where Kanto was just a second ago. Let's nade the living hell out of that spot and see what we find. Kanto was there waiting. He picks up the free death, and Virtus Pro are happy to be in a 5 versus 4.
This is the first time I've seen VP struggle with their attack and not know exactly what to do. That Aruni Syria gate on the side of that door over towards kitchen is actually really key. It means that nothing can come sailing through without alerting him first. That's going to be a great addition. They're shooting through it, but Virtue shouldn't really need to care. That side wall is reinforced. I thought he got that kill there when the kill feed started popping, and my heart absolutely died. But it's going to be Kajeka on the ace to pop it off, and they decide they're just going to come jumping into meeting, make it all happen on their own accord. And guess who's last left, Des? It's your love
who's getting kills. It's 1v3. He's already found 2. He's literally got an ace clutch to win the round, but sadly isn't aware of Milan playing up towards Spiral. He closes the kill out. Virtus Pro with a well-deserved round number 8, because again, they've looked back at what G2 were doing the other day. They've gone for the play to remove Kanto early. They were ready at every single turn for what was being thrown at them.
I don't want to say that that was G2's fault necessarily, because they actually played that setup to perfection. They made sure that no one peeked out beyond where they were needed to. Kanto wasn't trying to peek windows unnecessarily. He sat with these ADSs. We had a Syria gate on the kitchen door. They did everything really well. Those strats are solid, Des. What happened was the VP went, well, you're annoying us by making us take so long on the rappel. We're just going to jump in meeting, and we're going to use the long lines of sight you opened up against you. Is that okay? And G2 goes, well, we kind of hoped you'd push us front on. When you didn't, that's kind of when everything crumbled for us. Nice even scoreline, though. Maybe that win against Team Empire really did show us that VP are kicking things off for this season.
They are, yeah. Just need to get a little bit better in these 1vx situations against Citizen when you play for trades, I guess, because that round was relying on him not being aware of what was going on in Spiral. But admittedly, it's been 2 wonderful days for Citizen. He is on firing on all cylinders, whereas some others maybe are warming up a little bit. I know we're talking about him an awful lot, but he is the reason why G2 have those 4 rounds. If he hadn't have got those big plays in those rounds, this match could have already been over, which sounds terrifying to say. Let's see, though, if G2 can convert it into a win. I want to see who steps up alongside him.
No.
Maybe not really shooting your teammate with a shotgun is the play, admittedly, Kayak. That's not a way to make friends in a new team.
Oh, no. That's 25 HP. And if people are going, oh, it's just a little bit of lick of damage. No, that's an entire bullet that someone does not have to shoot to DBNO or completely kill Virtue. So that's actually a big hit. Nevertheless, I don't expect him to be the roamer. Good use of the drone there. Bad interpretation of the situation, however. And it's WTG who every time he's been spawning on the Dokkaebi has held that jump out for at least 25 seconds every single round. We're talking about players being lit before things start to kick off. We got Citizen, we got Virtue, and he makes good work of it. Nevertheless, he might have been low HP, but he says, I can still take an engagement, and does it very satisfyingly.
Does try, not quite netting it into a result for either side outside of the 1-for-1 trade. So all things being equal when you step away from it, unless the frags weren't consumed by the sledge. And actually, thanks to the overlay, we can see both of those frags were still in pocket for Pasha. Unfortunately, they don't get to use those because we saw just how effective they were for them in the last round.
Oh, they've still got 2 whole minutes to work with here. That's a lot of stuff kicking off in the very, very early round. And now they can slow things down, get the drones out, make sure, 1, no one's roaming, 2, that they're able to get those rotates cuts. That's why Rask will open up above the Visa stairs there so he can hold that, or conversely, get one of his teammates to hold it. Interesting thing here is that they're going to have to deal vertically with that mirror over in bathroom. It's a bathroom mirror hold, and VP love to do a top down. They're very methodical with how they take their attacks. You can open up a slither of the top above the mirror there, and if Uno is not careful, that's what they might do, but I think they might just push front on. I mean, I'm looking over how many ace charges they got left. They still got 3. They could throw 1 on the mirror window in bathroom, make something work here, but they're running out of time to do this.
I mean, Uno's still got the bathroom hold down, as you mentioned, so that's going to be the big focus, no doubt. You want control of that before you even think about trying to push into the downstairs itself. And with them floating around to the north side, they could just pop one of these walls open quite comfortably. That no doubt going to be the plan with the breach in charge. Kind of expected the round to be the one that came flying through, but absolutely not. And now that Uno's under pressure, quite simply drops through the hatch. You're happy there, you burn a little bit of utility, you've wasted some time and attention, and you can afford to pull away. Now they've got the control, but Virtue with a C4 kill from downstairs, is that up through the floor entirely? No, just inside of Anti. Beautiful kill to find. This will put the pressure on Virtus Pro, mind you. A 4 versus 3, 35 seconds to play, and still with another C4 on side. In fact, there it comes. It was the breaching round before, but the C4 connects. 2 C4 kills in the round is what they've been looking for so long. 4 versus 2, and surely, Jess, Milan and Karjeka can't pull this off.
I don't think they have the citizen wow factor that they will need to be able to clutch out 2vx that they're looking for. In fact, they're going up against a double amount of opponents, and they've decided to split their ways. They'll try and push through the smoke, but surely there's too many persisting for them to do a single thing. Look over towards Karjeka, though. All of the aces in hand as well. He's got all of them to work with. Oh. Alrighty, sir. There we go. Yeah, let him pop off. When he got lit to begin with, it absolutely fired him up, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I thought to myself, Uno's peeking so wide out from White Van here and put himself in full plain view to go for these firefights. Was lucky to not die the first time. Did get caught the second, but clearly while they were reeling from those fights against him, up comes Virtue and collects those closing 2 kills. Again, referring once more to a player that, although you don't always see him being the one that walks in and makes the flashy plays, consistency is there. In fact, consistency currently trumps flashiness because he's on 14 kills. Talk about a 2-man carry, boys. Jesus Christ.
Do you remember when they brought Virtue in all the way from Australia, and then they brought Citizen in as well, and everyone kept saying, this is going to be a super team. This is a super team. You've got Citizen. He's such a big gunner. Then you've got one of the biggest fraggers from all of Australia, and I can say that quite confidently because Virtue literally was one of the biggest fraggers in all of Australia. I mean, when we went over to the Milan Pro League Finals, was it? He was a monster, and that's where he made a huge name for himself, and everyone started going, oh yeah, we should pay attention to this guy all the way from, you know, the bottom of Australia down under. And so for me, I was upset that he didn't show off what he was capable of. It just took a while. We're there now. We're seeing it. And now Virtue and Citizen get to show off their really insane skills, which we've known they've always had. I'm excited, but what I'm probably a little bit more excited about now is that I want to see some literal utility usage here from VP. You can displace that mirror angle by opening up one singular vertical above, and it will give you a tiny slither of a line of sight over towards it. They didn't do that, so it worries me they don't know how to deal with very basic setups on this map.
I think for me, it was a very kind of cookie cutter round, right? Like they were stepping in, they got control of the ground floor. It was like, cool, now 2 of you have just died to C4s in trying to take control of this area. And it is hard to react to C4s like that. Like, it's not like, I'll just dodge them forehead. It's not quite that simple. You are going to get killed by 1 or 2. But to get caught out by 2 and then have the 1v2 straight after from Virtue, that was just basically as standard as a round can become when you're not really fully aware of what's going on downstairs because you've lost the utility upstairs. You've been droning up there, losing the drones out to the roamers, for example. It was well played by G2 to force Virtus Pro to burn a lot of their resources on the first and the second floor. So when it came around to the site itself, nothing was left to stop Virtue, just stepping up and doing what he does best.
Oh, the dreaded top floor, Des. It's the site that not a lot of teams like to hold because it can be extraordinarily difficult to deal with the bathroom rappel, connector rappel, console rappel, and then wherever else anyone else wants to rappel. You can even do a yellow skylight hop these days to cover off on the rotate being done. That doesn't really deter Kanto as he comes sprinting out and he'll take out Rasp, but WTG, who for whatever reason this is his favorite spot on the map as an attacker, that's where he sits for half of the round and waits for anyone to jump out and finally gets his gift eventually.
Good early trade, mind you, as well. Like, again, this is something I'd probably commend Virtus Pro for so far in the entirety of this match, has been their trade-based play. Quite a few times round, we saw it in one of the previous ones, bar the 1v2 that went a bit awry for them. They have consistently played behind trades, even when in that 5 versus 2, we have members of G2 like Virtue, like Kayak stepping up and getting kills. There was always someone nearby to play for the trade. It's helped them again here early on. It is only the Jaeger that's been lost. It's not the end of the world. Most importantly, your two big boys in Citizen and Virtue are still alive, and you have the smoke to play behind.
I think a lot of people will be wanting us to sort of comment on how Kayak's done in the first 2 weeks. I think a lot of people were a little bit upset by the initial performance last week. And as I say his name, I cast a curse him. Des, he goes down to a headshot, and this is a shame. KD shouldn't really matter for a support player. It's his smokes that were in pocket that had no damage. And it doesn't matter. You got Citizen to back you up. But as a singular player, as an independent player, Des, a little worried for Kayak at the moment. He might have a little bit of nerves running around.
I mean, the nerves definitely are flying through from Citizen and Virtue. They're walking around the map, putting every single Russian machine that walks at them into the dirt. WTG in a 1 versus 3 by himself. We've already said it a few times, but off the back of Citizen and Virtue, 30 kills across 10 rounds between them. They are dragging this team over the finish line, whether they like it or not. 6-4 for G2. It ain't pretty, but it's a result they'll take.
How did he get that headshot with the person vaulting in? He must have seen, I'm going to tell you, he would have seen the forehead of the man, and that's it. You couldn't have seen more. The man wasn't even in the building really yet. He was just leaping over at the time. I mean, goodness me. I think they're in the middle of a tactical timeout, which is absolutely warranted during a match point scenario. That's when you want to go, all right, we want to make sure that we're in a situation to best deal with match point. I'm not sure if G2 called it or whether VP called it. I actually would have thought VP would have called it. They're not the ones on match point here, so they need to be careful that they don't let this slip away. And then we've got to be thinking about the points distribution as well, Des. You want to walk away with at least 1 point, so how does VP get it?
Absolutely. I mean, at this point, 2 rounds, they've got to pull back. It's looking dicey, truthfully. I mean, what can you do when 2 players are just having one of their best fragging days going against some big fraggers as well? And we just had confirmation. This is, of course, a tactical timeout coming in from Virtus Pro. A wonderful addition, mind you. We saw this used last week. A team had lost, I forget who, 2 or 3 rounds in a row, called a tactical timeout. Next round stepped in, flawless round the other team. It worked absolute wonders. It does give a bit of time to course correct and adds a bit of flavor, a bit of spice into the game. The big flavor here that everyone's asking about. But if you're asking what's for dessert, is overtime there, or does this end at the main course? We pay the bill and we go home, and G2 walk away being the ones that feel happy about that.
I didn't expect this sort of G2 to come out in the second half. In fact, I think a lot of people wouldn't criticize me for saying that because of what was put on the board last week. You only have how many days to work with between the last Playday and this Playday, between week 1 and 2, because of the tightened gameplay days. In future, they'll get a complete week between Playdays, so don't worry about that. But between week 1 and week 2 of this first stage, however, they've only had a few days to work with to come out and go, alrighty, boys, we've pretty much fixed half of our problems that we had on defense. Okay, whether or not it's mechanically based or not, doesn't really matter. They're putting the score on the board, and that's what matters against a team that is looking pretty damn hot at the moment. You can't turn around and say VP have not been a worthy opponent here today for G2. This is the match of the day for a very good reason.
I actually think if you put it down to which team has played better Siege today, I would say Virtus Pro. I think they have looked like the more consistent team in the team-based element, the tactical element. It just when it comes to the mechanical skills, sadly, you're up against, again, 2 players that are having one of their best days that we've seen from them in a long time. That is going to happen sometimes, and sadly, you need to bring more to the game. I always used to love saying Siege, at its heart, is an FPS game. Whoever clicks heads faster wins. It doesn't matter how much you put down, how much you try and disrupt the other team with utility-wise. If they kill you first or kill you faster, guess what? You're going to lose rounds and therefore the game, and that's what it's coming down to today.
30 kills. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable to me. Mind you, this game is going the distance, so it gives you a better opportunity to get those kills on the board. And good response there over to Virtue. I'm loving the use of the yellow pings. A lot of people found it to be quite a controversial addition, but at the top tier play, it is showing that with a little bit of, coordination and a little bit of intel, you could do worlds and worlds of hurt. I believe Kayak got his yokai out of admin as well, so that's going to be a safety key there. He'll still have that to work with, and he still has one in pocket. Remember, site is lobby and piano, so even if they do get top floor from G2 like they did last time, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win the round, as Citizen and Virtue were hoping to make a sort of impact on. Virtue goes down, Citizen's still alive, no C4 in hand, but I don't think that's going to be his most important weapon here.
Whenever I look at Copy and think of someone with a C4 below, I will never forget Spoit, I believe it was. No, Trico it was actually, I think, playing in the Nordic Championship. 3 players run through, gets a triple kill with 1 C4. It was ludicrous. I always think it every single time I see it, just burn into my brain at this point. We'll see if any more heroic players of that nature can come out today to maybe try and save the round or save the game. I say save the game, it's not really even lost. But at least get G2 over the finish line. For Virtus Pro, they've had that timeout. They've spent 1 minute and 45 seconds dancing around admin at this point. Still not entirely sure what they want to do or where the focus really should be coming in. They are squaring up for a lobby take, it feels like, with about 60 seconds remaining. I don't feel they've got enough ground on their side at the minute to make this happen, though.
The number one pressure you need is over towards projector, because that's where the verticals are going to be. And then you also either want to open up the back of bathroom to make sure that no one has a shield / smoke / C4s to throw through the left-hand side of piano over towards lobby. And what happened there? They managed to run through connector, and somehow Milon is the savior of the sledge before he goes down. This round early on is looking good here for VP, but we know how this can be lost in mere seconds, so don't get comfortable, VP. You've still got a lot to work with.
They do. 5 versus 2. We've already seen them nearly throw one of these away previously, and I believe that yokai is still in effect. Citizen collects upon to Milan. 4 versus 2. Now he's going to go for a run around. It is here. We spoke earlier about the potential spoiler that these things could bring. Do they even know? They must have an idea. He disrupts it. Kayak's in a 1 versus 2. He comes out, goes for the spray, downs him. Has he just saved the game? They run round. Kayak has held it out. The plant's going down. They've saved it out. He gets him. Kayak has clutched it for them in the final round. You can see him shouting, I'm out of a chair as well. What on earth just happened? That is one way to make a statement, young man. Welcome to G2. G2 wins 7-4.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you ask, can Kayak fill the very, very big shoes of Pengu? Look at that clutch and tell me he can't, because he might not have been the biggest fragger today like Virtue and Citizen, but he came head to head with the best when it counted. My lord, what a map. My lord, what a win here for G2. And Des, this is very critical points on the board here if you're G2.
My heart is thumping. I can't believe it.
I was like this too. I was like, oh my God.
It came down to 12 seconds and I was like, he's in a 1 versus 4. Like, he gets one blast off, they see the drone, it's over. The fact that he gets up, kills one guy, they run at him, look the wrong way, kills him, repeats and kills the planter is ludicrous. Now, I don't want to take it from VP. They had 2 rounds early on with Karjeka where he won the 1 versus 2s. Fair enough, they had 2 rounds there that arguably could have been lost. But later on, whew, look back at the round they threw, like the 1v whatever it was against Citizen. Little rounds like that they're going to be looking back on and thinking, man, with a little more coordination, a few more crossfires and a little more awareness of each other, they could have won this today. But no, it's G2 that walk away the winner. I'm dying to hear what the devs have got to say about this game, because that was a stormer from start to finish. Let's go there now.
Thanks so much, Des and Jess. And we're